So about 1/3 of this film takes place in that car. Have either of you ever acted in such a confined space for such a long period of time in one film?
I think it was essential to the plot that we were pulled together in such intimate circumstances, but the short answer to your question is no.
No. But it is essential, and part of the journey of getting this film made, well, we'll get to that, but is so much of it takes place in a car, and it is a strike against a film. It is very difficult. But
Well, these days, I feel like if I'm watching Mad Men or something and they're in a car, it's even though I love Mad Men, it's clear that they're not actually on the road. They're in a green screen somewhere. What are the specific challenges with doing it for real?
me driving.
You're not so great.
My lapsed driving. I was born and raised in the great city of New Orleans, and my father taught me to drive at 16. But as I'm now a New Yorker, I've lived in New York for 30 years, and I have lost my ability to drive. But this extraordinary man, an actor, had to trust that I would
Totally.
that I would be able to transport him, like art and life merged in odd and precarious ways. But my driving skills slowly came back because I had this amazing instructor.
Just before we came on, we were talking about Jon Favreau, my friend, who appeared in the lovely film The Chef. He is cooking. While he's performing, he's cooking. There's something very liberating to the actor to be given an action whilst they're acting. It frees you. Although, driving in New York's not exactly liberating, but it does change. Don't you agree? It changes the performance.
Yes.
Something is
The fact that that it was real, it was true. We were not towed. There was maybe one scene when we had a tow truck. But for the most part, it was what you saw was real driving.
I love the moments where there's these emotional passengers in the cabs, and it makes me think in your preparation for this or conversations with people, did you hear stories from drivers about interesting moments they had where their passengers broke down or too much information kind of moments?
I'll tell you a story I did hear when we were shooting that lovely scene on the boardwalk with the ice cream, that a gentleman was kind enough to say that straight after the catastrophic 9/11, Sikh cab drivers in New York turned all their meters off and wound down their windows and gently said to people who were obviously terribly distressed, "Where do you want to go? Whom do you want to find? I'll take you there." That was the first gesture they made. I also heard during some times of flood in New Orleans that it was the Sikhs who organized a food kitchen. Wow. That's the Sikh way. I've learned that is the Sikh way.
Oh. Patricia, I was going through the notes that I had kind of scribbled down when I was watching the film a few weeks ago, and there's one scene where Jake Weber's character is breaking this news to you and leaving you. And the three words I wrote down were anger, hurt, and disgust, because that's what I felt coming from you. And to do all three of those simultaneously.
While straddling Jake Weber, yeah.
Right.
In a very tight skirt. No, I mean, it's one of the reasons I've loved this story and this script is, the pathos and the humor are in a flash and in a moment in both of our characters and by all of these scenes. And in a moment, I wanted to do that scene justice because I knew I had to go 1,000 places and I didn't want to miss any of the colors. I wanted to do the scene justice. I wanted to do the writing justice. I wanted to be, but I had the great Jake Weber there present. He's such a fine actor, beautiful actor, and Isabelle Quachette as the operator, just right there to catch it all. And she has a beautiful organic way of working, and she just starts to roll the camera. She gives you some perimeters, and then she just lets it fly, and then you're never sure where the camera is, so there's a certain truth that can really live, because you're not aware of an angle and a certain moment. As actors, we're often, sometimes a director wants a certain moment, and I think Isabel just wants the whole thing. And so it was a very difficult day to shoot, but it was a very beautiful scene. So I hope it worked.
Sir Ben, I think back to everything from Bugsy to Sexy Beast to Simon Wiesenthal to Gandhi to this. I can't name another actor whose body of work crosses ethnicities so seamlessly like you do. There's no one else I can think of. Is that something that you embraced very early on in your acting career? Is it something you came to appreciate about your acting later on?
I hope that I'm a storyteller by vocation, and I do think that storytelling is very healing, and I do think that us as storytellers are quite crucial to the survival of the tribe, our human tribe. And therefore, I think that both Patricia and I would agree that we are immensely curious about others, that we collect information from others. So aside from being part Indian, part English, part Jewish, I don't think it's the DNA, because I have siblings who are very, very different from me. So I think, fortunately, I imbibe, soak in by osmosis the human dance, and I'm privileged to be able to sing my song at the same time. It's a wonderful position to be in, and I'm eternally grateful.
Sir Ben, when you think back to being on the set, so this is a film that, as Patricia said, based on an essay written by a woman. Your screenwriter is a woman. Your director is a woman who was also the camera operator. Of course, the editor, after the fact, Thelma, was a woman. What was it like for you, all of that female energy around that cannot be the typical everyday experience?
It makes me feel immensely secure, because the female eye behind the camera is immensely skilled at celebrating two very important things that the actor tries to use as currency, but sometimes is ignored: male vulnerability and male tenderness. And both those qualities are magnificent masculine qualities. They're not the ones that immediately come to mind, but with Isabel's observation, loving observation, it allows me to be vulnerable as an actor, and use that as a great asset. Speaking of vulnerability, Patricia was just saying that when you have those remarkable moments on screen, you have to metabolize everything into acting. And she used a story with Dana. A few minutes before that happened, I was at the receiving end of racial abuse, although it was translated for me later by my very regretful colleagues on the set. You know, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but somebody shouted something at you. I knew that something had happened while we were shooting.
We were in the parking lot
just
of that
before that
last
scene. It was just before that scene.
Just before the scene.
And apparently somebody yelled at my character, Darwan Singh, he should be buying a fucking camel, not a fucking car. And that was translated to me. But honestly, you have to use everything. Yeah. No matter how regretful the incident or how beautiful, you can't actually sift out the light from the shade. You have to sort of twine them together as black and white threads, black and silver threads, as the great poet said, and use them.
But I wanted to just back to all the females, is the female energy and talent in this and that. Yes, it's an essay written by a woman, adapted by a woman, directed by a woman, edited by a woman, produced by a woman, and none of us, and we're all 45 and up. Maybe even 50 and up.
It's an argument that speaks for itself, you know.
Now, obviously, it sounds like you all were on the same page. It sounds like Broad Green Pictures on the same page, releasing this. So I don't think this ever.
And yes,
Right.
remarkable men coming in and
Right.
making this film happen.
So-
Daniel
right,
Hammond and Gabriel Hammond, incredible. They were our saviors. They, and the fact that they are these two young men who chose to make a movie. They were just beginning. They could have made anything. They could have made something hot, sexy. Where's hot?
It was their debut.
But they chose to make this beautiful film about two middle-aged people in a car, a stinky little car in New York City, and so they're incredible men, and I'm forever thankful to them.
What would have happened if one of the potential money people had come to you and your producer Dana and said, "I'm interested, but I want them to get together"?
Oh, no, we had many people come to us with money that wanted this or change that. Do you have to drive around in the car? Well, no, yes, we're just, okay, yeah, let's just take out all the cursing. We can just simulate them. I mean, like, what? Do we have to drive around in the car? We had, you would not believe the things that people said if we changed, they would make the film.
Could have been a very different movie.
It was, but the beauty of Gabriel and Daniel Hammond is they loved the film. They knew the power of the film. They loved it for exactly what it was, and they wanted to make this movie, and they knew it. And
Let me finish with one last question for both of you. How has this whole process of making this film changed the way you view New York City?
I am getting more and more fond of New York City. I've known it for many years. I find she's a character in the film, basically. I have to say she, don't I?
well, with all the women attached to this film, yeah.
I love it.
I don't know.
30 years.
Yes. I mean, I've become a New Yorker, which is fabulous, and I realize I have a profound love for the city of New York, and it only deepened in the process of shooting this film.